A lot of people talk about the end of the peak for Call of Duty, and that could be around the golden age, like the end of Black Ops 2. That could be the beginning of the jetpack era. That could be somewhere in between the modern games and what we had before. And today I want to discuss what I think is the real true beginning of the end for Call of Duty. Hi, my name's askmecrazy. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. And I decided to re-download Modern Warfare 2019. And I'll tell you what, just right off the bat, this game is really hard to re-download because of many things. So, for instance, I play on the PS5 for most of my Call of Duty showcases. Sometimes I play on PS4. And I had to re-download this game in a very particular way. I had to get the COD HQ application, which I've never used before. I had to then download the base game, and then I had to download all these compatibility packs, these multiplayer packs, and I had to re-download some of them multiple times because they would not install. So it was very tricky to get this game up and running again, but once I did, I felt kind of refreshed. You know, I have actually nostalgia for this game because I played this game at the beginning of my college career. Back in 2019 is when I started college, and a lot of my dorm mates, we all had consoles we played with each other, and this game was cross-compatible, so I played with them a lot during the early periods of this game, and I thought it was very enjoyable. I had a great experience. I have some nostalgia from that time period, and it kind of resurged when Warzone came out, where I played a ton with some other buddies of mine during COVID, and we just kind of camped out at one of our houses and played the ever-living crap out of Warzone for a good period of time until just got tired of it. You know, they didn't really update it for a long period of time, and beyond that I was just like, I'm kind of done with it. I'm done with the game series, and I just didn't really give it more of a chance after Cold War. I tried Cold War. I even thought about not buying it for the longest time, but it was on sale, and then my buddy split it with me, so I played Cold War for a good bit too, but that was the last Call of Duty I actually bought. That's one of the modern ones, and I feel like this game was the big turning point, for sure. This game fundamentally changed just Call of Duty as a whole, and I want to talk about those things. Now, there's a lot of bad that comes with it, but there's also good that comes with this game specifically. And I'm going to start with the good because it's always nice to hear what the good side is before you just talk about all the bads. And a lot of the bads we already know, stuff that's been regurgitated over and over again, but we'll get to that. So what I like about this game is definitely the graphics. The new engine was something that I didn't think I would see, to be honest. I didn't really think about it as like an update for a Call of Duty title, and it really changed like how beautiful the game looks. I mean, even just looking at this map of Rust, like the sun and how it peeks over parts of the map, you know, the shadows of the map when I'm in the shade and all that, it looks really beautiful. And when I first played this game, I was like, man, this looks like Battlefield. I mean, this looks so beautiful. I feel like I'm playing Battlefield, and I still do. It still holds up. The graphics are really nice in this game, and graphics aren't everything to me, but it was just a cool thing to see. Very refreshing. There's a lot of gimmicks that they pulled out in this game. So you got like the mantling system where you can mantle on certain pieces of cover or like walls or objects. And I enjoyed that, but I feel like it's not the best thing ever because it does put you at a disadvantage. You can't move. Sometimes you're really exposed, like your body is super exposed. And this is a very fast-paced game. This is a very mobile Call of Duty where they started to implement a lot of mobility and movement skill to the game with like tac sprint, for example. That's another thing they added, which I thought was interesting. I didn't love it at first, and then I kind of liked it, and then I was like indifferent about it because my thumb was getting tired of having to mash the stick down all the time to double sprint. It was kind of like just not the best thing in the world, but it was cool that it was there, I guess, regardless. And sometimes I still use it in this gameplay for sure, and it's a nice little gimmick. And another thing I liked is the gameplay, or the way the game feels. So like the gunplay, for example, is really smooth. It's really fluid. I like a lot of the guns in this game. I feel like they're fairly well balanced. Some are definitely OP. Like, I'm using this FAMAS. I think it's just called the FR, but I use this FAMAS in this gameplay. And I'm just going to town. I mean, I'm just one-bursting fools left and right, and I think this lobby isn't the most competitive lobby. Like, some of these guys are kind of bots in here, but I definitely had a fun time using this weapon. I remember the MP5 was also, like, super broken when this game came out, and it didn't get patched for the longest time. So that was definitely like another unbalanced weapon, but the gunplay feels really good, and I actually do enjoy quite a bit of the maps. Now, don't get me wrong, there are definitely maps I don't like in this game, but they have a really like wide variety of maps, and they have like all sorts of, you know, 3-lane maps. They got all sorts of chaos maps where you have so many like lines of sight and flanking routes you can take. They have really big maps. They have really small maps. I think it was a good like mixture, and it was very healthy for all sorts of people that played the game. I think they had a very wide reach with the maps in this game, and not all of them, again, were great, but I feel like a good bit of them had very good design that I enjoyed. So, like, for instance, my favorite map in this game is Gunrunner. I just think that map is perfect. It's a great 3-lane map. It's a medium-sized map. There's definitely lanes where you can shoot long distance and, you know, have your distance between other players, but there's also a lot of close range areas as well. Very well put together map. Along with like Hackney Yard, that was one of the launch maps I really enjoyed at the beginning. Kind of similar story. A lot of long range areas that you can have, but there's also like flanking routes and close quarters areas as well with the 2 buildings in that map. So there's a lot of variety with this game, and I thought that brought a lot of good to the series. Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of what really changed with this game and what made this the beginning of the end, and that's the bad. And obviously, the first thing I'm going to talk about is skill-based matchmaking. That's just the big elephant in the room. It's always been a problem since this game, and it wasn't ever really an issue for the longest time, even though developers say skill-based matchmaking has been in Call of Duty for as long as Black Ops 2. But it hasn't been really prevalent until this game. And I'm sure a lot of you can guess why. And that's because of the disbanding lobbies. So the algorithm only procs when you are searching for a match. And since in the old games, we only looked for a match every once in a while because we could actually stay inside the lobby and stay with the people that we're playing with, unless we get, like, you know, disconnected or the host leaves or something. We weren't looking for matches a whole lot. But now that we're forced to leave matches every single time we play, and this is in both this game and beyond, the skill-based matchmaking algorithm procs constantly. So you're constantly being put in different lobbies all the time with different skill sets. Now, you could say this is a skill-based matchmaking thing, where depending on your skill and how you play is how you're ranked between your matches. But actually, it's more like experience-based. Doesn't matter how good or bad you are, it only depends on your previous match, what the next match is going to be like. And this is an entirely just like fundamentally destructive way of how Call of Duty has done their business. And I know why they did it, because they want player retention, but at the same time, you are babying your players. So games like XDefiant, for example, that also is getting sunset, that I heard about, I'd rip XDefiant, doesn't have any skill-based matchmaking. So if you get in a lobby, you could get destroyed. I mean, just absolutely destroyed. And it's supposed to really help you get better at the game and make you feel like you should get better at the game. But since Call of Duty is so catered towards keeping their players in a specific pool of players, you don't feel like you're getting urgency to get better at the game. You feel like you're already good at the game. And you can even see it in this gameplay. I'm playing against some bots here. Like, these guys are definitely lower skilled than I am. And probably the next match I played after this, I got my ass kicked. Maybe even just a little bit. I've definitely had some hard matches recently with this game. So it's a very interesting way and very business-oriented way that Call of Duty likes to keep their player retention. And I get it. You need that for the game to, you know, thrive and do well and get your sales and all that. But it's really destroyed a lot of, like, the social aspect of the game too. Just the simplicity of disbanding lobbies has been such a problem, where you don't really get that rivalry with people anymore. No one usually hops on the mic and starts trash talking each other like the Modern Warfare 2 days. I mean, no one really does that because you can't do that. It's just not possible anymore. and it's a huge hindrance. That's probably the biggest hindrance to the modern CODs nowadays. Now, I could talk about the UI all day long because I've actually studied user interface for college, but the UI for this game is not as bad as the leading modern games. It definitely got worse, but the menu for this game is pretty nice. It's very clean. It's still vertical, scrolling lists, which is nice, but they started leaning towards like horizontal scrolling lists and added way too many attachments for guns in the gunsmith past this game. I think this game specifically has just about the right amount of attachments for a gun. It's not too overwhelming where you're like, I don't know the difference between these two attachments sometimes, but it's definitely reaching there, and I'm a simplistic guy. I like simple UIs, I like simple attachments on my guns. It's definitely cluttered, you know, it makes the UI cluttered when you have all those attachments you put together. Now the sound system for this game is really intense, and it's really crispy and nice, and I feel like it does a really good job, but it's almost like too good of a job because the footstep audio in this game is so crystal clear. Like you can hear someone coming from like 20 meters away. You know exactly where they are. It's very precise. And the only really counter to this is either dead silence, which you can only use as a field upgrade, or when you get shot, you can't hear super well, and that's kind of frustrating just in general, but those aren't really good counters to the footstep audio, and I feel like the game just rewards players who sit completely still and just camp instead of players that spend time, you know, learning the movement mechanics of the game. Another big thing is definitely the visibility. I talked about how nice the graphics are in this game, but it's also a hindrance because sometimes I can't tell if I'm shooting at an enemy or a teammate, and that could be really bad if I'm playing like hardcore. And they've definitely addressed stuff like this before, but having too much animation as well is just not a good thing for a competitive shooter. You want to do things as quick as possible and the player feels like they're in control. Once you start adding too much, then it kind of takes away from all of that, you know, competitiveness and that urge to really feel competitive and have control over your game and your decisions and what you do. Now I can sit here and nitpick every little thing about this game specifically, or just any of the modern CODs that I've experienced and seen from an outside point of view, but I think I've made my point and my claim about just how this game revolutionized the leading modern CODs that have come after it, and you know, I still enjoy Modern Warfare 2019, and I'm probably still gonna come up with some clips and some gameplay for it. And I want to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. Let me know when you think Call of Duty began its downfall and what feature caused that. And with that, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you also want to leave a comment on the next topic I should talk about, you can do so down below. Or you can leave a question at askmecrazyquestions@gmail.com. That email will be in the description. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!